So a good idea to be using the wet palette for this kind of stuff now, to try and keep the paint flowing well. And we don't want to get bogged down too much, but just got to keep a good point on your brush. Just having a go at this plastic one first, where the detail can be a little bit mushy in places on the plastic ones, depending on how they were designed, especially these older plastics. What I found is, as long as you just accept that you need to get a few layers on there to build it up, it can work. Don't expect too much from the first layer. Just know that you'll have to go over it a few times. Don't try and do too much on the first pass. Don't try and put it on too thick. You know, keep your paints thinned so that you are building up layers, and there'll be a point where it just starts to work and look better. And if you are just accepting that you're going to be doing this over a few applications, then any little mistakes that you do make tend to just kind of blend away and disappear. But we need to start being neat now. You know, you don't want to be going over areas multiple times or trying to fix things. Now that you've added the shades to everything, you don't want to be going over it or be fixing any little mistakes. You want to kind of keep everything neat now. Shades do give a little bit of protection to that base coat. Once you've added the shades, the general rule now is, and that's a mistake, but that's okay, we'll be edge highlighting the armour later. But the general rule is you only really want to layer up and light in areas that you can actually get a brush into. If you can't get a brush in there, then there's probably not going to be any highlights needed. You need a decent brush as well, just something that holds a point so you can get in. For things like fingers and hands. And if you keep the paint wet, it comes off the brush easier, flows onto the miniature rather than getting clogged up in the brush. That's why it's good to use these wet palette things. Like I said, if you can't get the brush into an area, then it usually means that it shouldn't be highlighted anyway. Now the face. Lots of opportunities to mess it up here, but you can see on the mini, and it's picked out with a shade that he's got frown lines. The ear on these plastic ones are pretty basic, so it might be worth trying to indicate a bit more definition on it. So I think what we'll do is try and just do that. So once you've done one pass, you can usually go back and start your next. Aim being just to start building up the lighter tone again. Once you've done that first layer, the second layer, subsequent layers feel a bit quicker to do. But yeah, when there's these large areas of just skin tone to do, it is a bit of a thought to do it. I suppose with each layer as well, you're not trying to entirely go over all the same area again. You're kind of trying to do a little bit less each time so that you build up that highlight to a smaller and smaller area, and that's what gives you the effect of a blend. There, let's just have a look, see if we can see a difference. Probably not in this light. I can see the difference in real life, but it's maybe too bright. So I just need to do that multiple times. Well, do the rest of the minis and maybe move up to the next skin tone to get a brighter finish again. Okay, we've got the kind of first pass of reinstating the base colours over all the guys. The last video you saw was the skin, so I've gone ahead and done all the other colours as well, just that first pass. Like I say, you're just reinstating the base colours that were all darkened down with the wash or the shades. And that's where we've got to now. The next step is to start moving up to the next shade up, the next colour up, a lighter pass. And we'll start with the skin again. I think for that one I'm going to go up to this Flayed One Flesh for the next pass and start lightening the tones as much as I can. I'm trying to go with what's shown in the box art. You know, it looks pretty bright to me, some of those skin tones there. So we'll get on and do that. And hopefully things will start moving a bit quicker now. So as I said, we'll start now with the Flayed One Flesh. And I think we'll go over it maybe twice. Just while we've still got the miniature in front of us, I would just do it twice straight away. And again, the technique now is not to go over everything, you know, not to completely cover the previous layer, but to try and leave some showing each time to build up that sense of a highlight. And then hopefully, you know, like I said, I feel like we're going to make a bit more progress now with these layers, because you know, there's a bit less to do each time. We want to make sure that we're neat now, so that we're not redoing too many mistakes. And really important, or at least really useful, to have one of these wet palettes once you start doing this, just for keeping the paint easy to get around on the miniature. Keep it flowing off the brush onto the miniature. If you're just painting straight from the pot, it can all get a bit sticky and difficult. on the wet palette. It keeps it easier to use. And then you can just put the lid back on when you're finished. You've just got to not worry about making any little mistakes on the faces. I mean, you can just go back and fix things, but I suppose if you can get it right first time, it make it a bit easier. You definitely want to keep the paint thin for this. Just get a bit of water into that. And then we'll come back to the start. I think this might do it just for the skin. I think this might be light enough. Okay, I think that's it. If I compare it to one of these other guys, you can see maybe the light is hitting them or not. I don't know if you can actually make it out, but that's the difference at least. So we've got the rest of them to do. And we'll see how we get on. The skin tone's now done, the Flayed One Flesh. There's a couple of layers on all the figures now. What I noticed was that they were getting a bit too light. Compared to what I really want. So what I've done is I've taken some of the Flayed Flesh shade and some Lamian medium, and just with a 1-to-1 mix just created a kind of thinned down version. You can't just water it down with water for this to work. You've got to use a paint and medium to keep the consistency right in the way that the paint works the same, but just with less opacity in it. So what you can hopefully see is the figure on the right is just a couple of layers of Flayed One Flesh, which is a bit bright, maybe a bit too light. And then the guy on the left here has had just a bit of a wash over with this Flayed Flesh shade and Lamian medium mix, just to warm up the skin tone a bit. So you can maybe see the difference. So I'm just going to go over all of them now. Just to get that skin tone a bit more warmed up than it is. Handy just to keep some of these little jars if you get these kind of little gift set things, like jams or honey or whatever. Just to make little mixes up like this. So if I try, I'll try and do this one. You can just use Flayed Flesh shade on its own for this, because it would just darken all what you've done right back down to the original tone virtually. So better just to make up a new colour. It's like a kind of glaze almost, or it would be a glaze in fact, not almost. And then just try and make sure that you do a complete area in one go, so that it doesn't have time to dry and leave you with any tide lines. And it will just smooth out your blending, unify it all, and can actually improve it. And that's it. So I'll just carry on with these and get the rest of them done, and then that's the skin done. Okay, so we're on to the Evil Sunz Scarlet, which is a great red to be using. Really starts to lift the miniature overall once you start getting these colours in. And I'm kind of going over all previous layer of the Mephiston red. Maybe just looking to leave a little bit showing around the edges if I can. And probably a couple of passes with this. And of course we're trying to be nice and neat now. We don't want to be going back over things too much if we can avoid it. Love these mid-90s red colour schemes. Okay, so we'll carry on. Get them all done with the reds. Well, that's the gang finished. They took a while to get here, but now that they're done, I'm happy with them. Last time we looked at them, I was just doing the hair, and I had used some shade on them. All that I did after that was do a bit of a dry brush to get up to a bit more of a highlight, and that was it. And then I did the basing, which I won't cover here. I'll maybe do a separate video on that because it's just my standard 40k basing style that I use. I always want to go for this Ash Wastes, Red Planet, Mad Max kind of look. I think suits the 40k stuff. So yeah, that's the finished gang. So maybe I need to do another gang now to face them. Quite a few to choose from, so maybe check them out and see which one I'd like to have a go at. But hopefully there's been some useful painting techniques shown, or something that you can use in your own work. And that's it. Thanks for watching.